On this episode of Under the Hat, we're going to be discussing what college coaches are looking for in setters. Sam?
So, setting, obviously it's that quarterback out on the court. And so with that, coaches love a setter who is very, very vocal, somebody who's not afraid to take charge out there. That is crucial to being a great setter out there, whether you're running a 5-1, whether you're running a 6-2. I think the other piece of being a great setter is being able to instill that confidence in your attackers. Every once in a while an attacker, you're going to give them a great ball and they're going to miss hit. They're going to hit a ball out of bounds, they might hit it into the tape, things like that. But as a setter, you need to let your attacker know that you have confidence in them and that you're going to get that ball back to them and let them know that you trust that they're going to put that ball away for your team to point score. We can talk a lot about, every coach has different styles about footwork and how they like to train setters. We could spend a lot of time on that. I don't think that's really the big point of this discussion. Whatever you are doing, I think with your footwork, it's obviously making sure that you're on good balance, high point of contact with your hands, and you want to be deceptive. If you're sending the ball forward, you're sending the ball backwards, you want to look the same so that it's wreaking havoc with the blockers on the other side of the net. The other thing that's important, setters play defense. Coaches love setters who like to play defense. And how many times as coaches in a scouting report when you're playing teams do we talk about setters don't like to play defense? We're going to force them to have to play defense, or we know you release too soon. Really work on extending your range in that defensive positioning in that right back. The other thing is your serve is your weapon. I'm a big proponent of serving. I love talking serving, love the strategy piece of it. Be a BAB with your serving piece and look to help your team point score with that as well. The other thing is, whether you are a back row setter or a front row setter, be offensive minded as well. Really think about that. During the middle of a rally, what gets open in a team? Do they leave the deep corners open, 1-5? Do they leave the middle of the floor wide open in that campfire area? So look to be strategic and look to earn an easy point for your team as well.
The other thing that I like to see is communication and really taking charge on the court, making sure that you're communicating with your hitters, also with your libero, and then of course just listening in for any of the feedback that your coaches have. I don't know that we have talked a lot about respect and respecting your coaches and the importance of making eye contact and your overall body language and how that affects recruiting, but that is something that I know that we discuss as observers now on the outside, and then some of the feedback that we get from other college coaches as well is just wanting to see as a setter that you are confident, that you're vocal, and that you respect your teammates, that you're a good leader, that you're a good teammate, and that you respect your coaches.
Something else I'd like to add, to continue to grow as a setter and to make yourself 1% better on a daily basis, watch film. Sometimes I know it's difficult to watch yourself on film, but as a setter, get film. If your parents are filming, if your coaches have the film, watch film 10 to 15 minutes a day, a couple times during the week. When you are about to go set the ball, hit pause on the screen and ask yourself, what are my best setting options? What's the best choice? What's a good choice? What's not such a good choice? And then hit play and see what you did. And I think also if you are able to watch that film with your coach and have that discussion, that's really important as well. Maybe you see something on the court that maybe your coaching staff doesn't, and that's why you made a decision. But I really think it's important to really watch that film and see about the decisions that you are making to grow by 1%.
Just staying engaged, being proactive. I mean, these are things that are all super, super important as you're going through your recruiting journey. Anything when you're emailing coaches, anything that caught your eye over the years as athletes were emailing you, especially, obviously we're talking about setters in this segment, but anything that caught your eye in working with setters going through the recruiting process?
I think for us, one of the things that we used to do during visits was we talked volley. Like we would sit there and we got our whiteboard out and we talked about what we did offensively and defensively. And so for us, when we were having visits with setters, it was cool to see who really got engaged and who got really excited about what we were trying to do offensively and what our systems were and that we were trying to run fast, and they got excited about that and learning about that piece and why things made sense. And so when they had questions or they even wanted to go on the whiteboard and draw and ask that, that was really exciting for us, and knew that they were definitely invested and bought into wanting to play at that next level for sure.
And then with your visits, like obviously you're familiar with the programs that you were in, but Were there things that stood out to you of any of your setters in the past? Things that, you know, really hit a mark with you that you were like, this is why I want that setter?
Yeah, I think the tenacity, like I had a kid back in the day when I was at Rhodes, was not always the most vocal person. We talked about that being her 1%, and she really worked on that. But this kid literally would run through a wall and would go through anything. And she just set that example every single day for her teammates. And I would have taken 20 of her in a heartbeat today. And this is why she's successful. She's a lawyer, married, kids. I mean, she was just awesome for us. But I've also had some other great setters who come in and ask the questions of like, okay, why should we do this? Why do we do this? And really just trying to think about what it is they're trying to do, and wanting to know how they can make themselves better, but also put their hitters in a better position to be successful as well, based on who we're playing. So looking at that scouting report, looking at film afterwards, you know, the recruits that come in, just the film that they send and their aggressiveness and what they're doing. You know, are they offensive minded? Are they trying to run fast? And everything doesn't have to be perfect, but they're trying to make themselves 1% better. Are they jump setting? I think the jump setting piece is huge. So if that's something, you know, I hear sometimes like, well, the passes aren't there, I can't do this. I call BS. Find a way to make yourself better and find a way to work on that jump setting aspect, because coaches are looking for that at the next level.
You know, that's an interesting topic, because there are some club coaches that don't want to see, you know, every setter jump setting all of the time. Some of them find it's unnecessary, or they want them to improve, you know, staying on the ground first before they transition to that jump setting. You know, when's the most appropriate age when you're out recruiting? When was the most appropriate age for a setter to start jump setting?
Sure, and I get the piece where obviously you're trying to work on mechanics and stable footwork and being on balance before you go to that jump setting piece. But as you get to really to that 16s division, that's when, you know, people are really starting to look at you and be like, okay, are you able to jump set? Are you able to distribute a fast tempo offense? Can you push balls to one pin to the other? Can you run your middles 10 feet off the net? Those are the things that coaches are starting to look for.
The other thing is, if you're a setter who's not getting a lot of playing time, one of the ways that you can contribute to your team is by communication when you're on the sidelines, when you guys are interacting. Like, if you're somebody that's not getting a lot of playing time, there are still ways that you can be engaged with your teammates, with your coaching staff, to appear that you're very invested. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, that if you came to a court and you see a setter who's not playing that you were trying to recruit, what were some things for you that were really important to see out of that setter that's not playing?
Sure. I think first off, I always talk a lot about the celebration piece. I'm big about that. So the energy piece, that you are exuding that on the court all the time. That's huge, number one. Number two, you know, when there's a timeout or in between sets, you know, you go to your teammate who's out there on the court setting and being like, listen, you're doing a great job. Or you maybe notice something like, hey, you know, the other team's middle's always committing with our middle. You're getting one-on-ones with your pins. Having that discussion for sure. And again, even going up to your coach and being like, hey, you know what, just want you to know that this zone 3 is open every time. We could dump in the middle of a long rally. So coach knows that. So she can, you know, maybe go up and talk she or he can go and tell their setter that during the middle of the play and give that feedback as well. But that's, you know, that is really, really important. Same thing even defensively. You know, again, it talked about it's imperative that setters be able to play good defense. And so just reminding the setter, hey, stay home, don't cheat, because they're going to come after you. And if you can dig that ball up, then you're giving your team, again, another dig transition to attack and the ability to point score.
You know, with athletes that aren't getting a lot of playing time, sometimes there's discussions, you know, we hear things like it's politics, or she's not well liked, or he's not well liked. And so we talk about the uncontrollables. I know you're big on the uncontrollables and making yourself 1% better every day. I think that by doing all of these things and really being engaged and increasing your communication, it does make all the difference in the world. And I think that your club coach is going to be more invested in you as well. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And the college coaches are going to see that as well, because again, you're always on a stage. And so whether they're right at your court, they're at the next court over still watching you, you're on a stage. I was talking about this last night. Somebody's always watching you, and so you've got to be presenting yourself in the best light possible. And when you do, that's going to resonate and stand out, no matter if you're playing all the time or only a little bit of the time.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. This has been really fun to talk about. We hope you guys enjoyed this series. We talked about all the different positions and really gave feedback about things that college coaches are looking for. Really applies, I think, to every position, some of the things that we talked about here. But we would love to hear from you. Please hit us up on the DM on Instagram. It's vballrecruiter. And you can hit us up on our website, myrecruitingsolutions.com. So thanks so much. Anything
Thanks so
else?
much. No.
All right, awesome. Have a good day.